Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Cubbon. I'm a scientific software engineer working at the Met Office, and I'm going to give you a brief talk about how you can use integrated AI to work with climate data. So the particular model I'm going to talk about is GitHub CoPilot, which is an AI-based pair programmer. And what that means is that it's an extension to your code environment, such as VS Code or one of the JetBrains editors. It does require a paid license that may be provided by your organization, or you can also buy a personal license. Under the hood, this is powered by similar code that you might see running in ChatGPT. So the basic feature that it offers is autocomplete. What that means is as you are coding, you will see as a grayed out text what it thinks you would like to complete that line as. So you can just press tab and then it will fill out that line for you. The idea of this is that very simple tasks become predictable, and you can simply use this AI pair programmer to speed through those more repeatable or boring coding tasks and get to the more interesting science. There is also an inline chat feature, so that operates a lot like ChatGPT. You can select bits of code or entire files and ask the chat feature questions about that code, or ask it to fix bugs for you. If your code throws an error, you can paste that error in and then it may have helpful suggestions for you. So the way that this was generated was from a huge quantity of open source code. So in theory, that means that the code that it generates should not have any trademark copyright issues, but you should check with your organization what their policy is on using AI generated code before you go ahead and use it. So before I go on to the demo, I've got some tips for when you're using this. So CoPilot understands the context that you have open in your editor. Any files that you have open, it can read from and use to inform its suggestions. If you don't have it open, it won't be able to use it. One of the other features is if you're trying to do something a little bit more complex and the tab complete isn't being helpful, you can come up with a prompt for what you want to write and press Control Enter, and that will come up with 10 different suggestions, typically dozens of lines of code for accomplishing what you've written in a comment, for example, in your code. That can be useful if you're having trouble with the other methods. These things work best if you provide as much context as possible in the form of comments or doc strings, even pseudocode if you can be as precise as that. Another thing is in your context, you can have things like your style guide open, the way that you want the code to look like, and it will follow that if you provide it. Some more here. If you, again, are having problems with the tab complete, for example, writing comments when you want it to write code, you just it can be improved by you knowing how that line of code is going to begin. For example, if you want to write a for loop, just start by writing for, or if you know that you want to assign something to a variable, start by writing the variable name, and that will help. There is another option within VS Code to select code and then click on this CoPilot tab as you can see there. And then there's more options that you can see there. For example, the inline chat. So if you were to click on the inline chat there, you can ask it to modify the selected code in a particular way, for example, to refactor it or fix a bug on that particular section. You can also see explain this and fix this, generate docs, and they're fairly self-explanatory. It will open those in the CoPilot chat tab for you. Also, in the bottom right, when you're using CoPilot chat, it's not shown here, but there will be an attachment symbol which allows you to select files within your editor to use as context. For example, if it's not picked up the correct context. I think the best way to demonstrate this is going to be with completing a simple task with the help of CoPilot. So what I have here is a daily minimum temperature time series and a land sea mask covering the region of Wales. And I'm just going to attempt to plot a daily time series of the number of, or rather the aerial average of the region of frost in Wales. So let's open our code editor. So you'll notice I have some simple input arguments already set up. And I've also copied in a summary of the file, and that will hopefully help CoPilot understand the data and make its suggestions more accurate. So first I'm going to convert the cube to Celsius as it's in Kelvin. So let's start typing. There we go. And you'll see in this grayed out text here is the CoPilot suggestion. Now if I press tab, it will complete that for me. And in fact, it's now suggesting the next line. I'm actually going to do it using an inbuilt iris function to be more safe. There we go. And if I press tab, it's completed that as well. You can see sometimes the suggestions are less than useful. I don't want to convert the region mask to Celsius either. So if I now identify the frost days, I'm going to do it in a copy of the cube for safety. So I'm just tab completing these, and it's suggesting, as I wanted, to create a binary mask of where the data is freezing. And then I can apply the region mask, setting it to nan, where the mask is 1. And then if I apply this to the mask of the data as well, the way I'm going to do that is there we go. So in this case, I had to know how to begin the solution, that I need to also set the mask attribute of this data to the regions where it was nan. And that means that in future, when I perform operations on that data, it can ignore those without my data ending up being all nans. There we go. I was just about to suggest that we calculate the aerial average. The reason it's come up with that suggestion there is because I have written that in the doc string of the module, and doing that can be helpful for coming up with better suggestions like this. So you notice that suggestion is slightly incorrect. It's suggesting latitude and longitude when the coordinates are x and y. So let's see if there's a different suggestion which is correct. Not quite. So I'm just going to fix that with a different feature of CoPilot here, which would be the chat function. And now I'm going to add the context of the headers file. and ask CoPilot to fix that. Obviously, this is fairly trivial, but the principle would be the same for something more complicated. You can see it's understood that once I've applied the context. And now we're going to continue on to the plotting. So if I just tell it to begin plotting, it will come up with something probably. And I'm going to actually use, another feature, which is to come up with multiple suggestions at the same time. So if I press Control and Enter, you can see it opens this new tab where it can come up with up to 10 different suggestions for how it thinks it should continue. So I can browse those and think which ones of these look sensible. In this case, I think that the first one isn't going to work. So if we just keep on going through, there we go. And that's likely to work. So if I now test that, you can see that it has worked. Now, obviously, this is a plot of the daily time series, so it's very messy. But if I zoom in, you should be able to see the seasonal variation more clearly. Now, if I were doing this for real, there's a lot more I'd probably do. For example, get it to plot window time series. I might select this and ask it how I might do that. So I can use the chat window to ask questions about this. And it will come up with a suggestion. We can just read its suggestion and see if it comes up with anything useful. There we go. It suggested something, so I can attempt that. And there we go. We see the trend much clearer there. So that's all I'm going to talk about for now. Obviously, there are much more features for you to explore, and it's best just to try those for yourself. Thank you.